Here's a currently popular favorite for both American or South American popular dance lovers. Deep in a Dream, and Helen Forrest is the singer.
Stranger than fiction.
Welcome everybody!
Illuminati News, Illuminati News, Illuminati News.
20 years of Illuminati confessions on
Illuminati News, Illuminati News,
Illuminati News. 20 years. We are celebrating 20 years. And this is, of course, the Leo Zagami Show with Leo and Christy. Hello, Christy.
Hello.
How
And
are
hello,
you?
everyone.
And how are the puppets doing?
Very good.
Okay, so first of all, let's thank those kind souls who have supported our show today with their donations.
I remember.
You want the list?
No, I remember. Danielle Estes, Margaret Zadaminta. Thank you so much. And she donated last week, and I forgot to mention her.
Mm-hmm.
And Hyo Yozumaki and Daniele. Wait. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Oh my god. Hey. What's it? Dennis. Sorry, Dennis. Oh my god. Dennis Bolanos Enrique.
Okay. Hello, Dennis. Thank you so much. And of course, thanks to those people who continue to purchase my books and Christie's books, supporting, of course, the show in the process. The Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda is one of the main books that has inspired today's topic. Of course, we have also other books from Illuminati Confessions, like Confessions of an Illuminati Volume 5. Okay, so what are we talking about today? We are unveiling the secrets of occult Freemasonry, because there is always a lot of confusion regarding Freemasonry. So I thought I would dedicate a show to this important topic. And of course, we are broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, X, Rumble, and BitChute. Quite a few platforms, and this is possible also thanks to your sponsorship and to the purchase of our books, which include, of course, also Christie's books. And in this case, Confessions of an Illuminati Princess, Volume 1 and 2, we have Christie's account of her own initiation. Because Christie was initiated in a lodge of the Memphis and Mizraim.
There's 2 initiations in that book.
And they're rather interesting. So let's talk about today, and the topic that we are about to encounter is of great importance to understand that, we're not going to be the relationship between Freemasonry and the concept of non-human intelligence exists, but of course not in your average lodge, the one that you see publicized here in the United States at the entrance of each city. So we need to make some distinctions, and we need to explain this reality that exists at the intersection between historical occultism, esoteric philosophy, and modern alternative history, which is my favorite, because I give an alternative, version. While mainstream Freemasonry is, as all of you should know, but unfortunately that's not always the case, a secular and moral institution with, of course, various high-degree rights, offshoots, and historical figures that have actually actively integrated the pursuit of non-human intelligence or entities that, of course, we define historically as angels, planetary spirits, and cosmic intelligence, not necessarily non-human extraterrestrials like we intend today. So while mainstream Freemasonry remains strictly focused on fraternity, ethics, and charity, and at times becoming no more than your average Rotary and Lions Club, which, by the way, were created by Freemasonry to incentivize those purposes and amplify them. Then we have a different kind of Freemasonry. It's known as occult Freemasonry, occult Masonry, or esoteric Freemasonry, and it's undeniably linked and intertwined, intertwined. So sorry, that's great. Thank you, Christy. It's always good to have you here.
Oh, thanks.
With the pursuit of non-human intelligence, historically understood as, like I said, angelic, planetary, and spiritual forces that govern the universe. So there is a reality, there is an occult reality in Freemasonry, but it's not always embraced. I remember a few decades ago when I saw an official message that was sent out by the Grand Master of Australian Freemasonry, if I recall well, stating that their lodges had nothing to do with the esoteric, with the occult. So at times this link has, of course, facilitated a lot of conspiracy theories that have run wild. But rightly so, because, there is also a real connection that today we're gonna disclose and unveil. And I want to say welcome to all the new subscribers. We are ever so happy to have had the possibility also through our other podcasts like Sean Atwood to promote our own show. And we have thousands of people who have actually bothered to subscribe and make our small channel a little bit better. Because, as you know,
yeah, we're getting a lot of subscribers now.
Yeah.
So I think we're heading towards 20,000. So
wow. Well, that's where we were in July 2019, and then eventually they will remove all the subscribers. The actual channel, if I want, is still there, but they have removed all the subscribers, so there was no point in reactivating it. And they also scrubbed off all the videos. So that was just like
Yeah,
aside
it's starting
from.
over.
It's like but we've been patient. I know there's a lot of people, which I actually personally know, that have given up on YouTube. And at times,
You resist, you persist.
I mean, at times I really understand you need to have a lot of patience, but we had a lot of patience, especially during a difficult time like the pandemic, where censorship was out of order.
They would take his channels off when he was like live on the air, and he would actually make new channels while he was like in those moments when he was live on the air. And then it was mostly for the Italians, though. It didn't happen
Well,
as
no,
much.
but it happened also with the English speaking channel.
did.
I remember when we even discussed the infamous laptop of Hunter Biden, and then immediately they
It was just gone.
I mean, that
And
seems
COVID did it a lot
if you
too.
yeah. So I
COVID
mean,
did it a lot.
at the moment, politics is not really part of this show. We have decided that no matter where you go, when you arrive in the swamp, you are part of the swamp. So that's it. The only way we can eventually free this country is to free, first of all, this country from all the politicians, whatever side
We have
they're
to
on.
free ourselves from them.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the esoteric, occult side of Freemasonry, because it's very important to distinguish it from that purely social endeavor. So, first of all, we had Martinez de Pasquali with the Louis de Cohen that were founded in the 1760s. And they basically are still to this day a sort of Masonic inner circle that practices theurgy, divine magic, and draw complex circles on the floor to evoke celestial intelligence or angels. Now, this is very important, guys, because in a magazine like The Square, which is the only, to my knowledge, really independent magazine that talks about Freemasonry, we have actually a very interesting article here that Christy can maybe read. Here we are. So, let's start from the very much from the description. So just so people understand that even Freemasons at times don't have familiarity with the esoteric and the occult side of the craft, as they call it.
Okay, delve into a side of Freemasonry you never knew existed, far from the familiar rituals that
Louis de Cohen.
Louis Cohen.
Yes,
Louis
because
Cohen.
the guy was in what is now Haiti, and so they were talking French, and so it was called Louis de Cohen.
Okay, Louis Cohen.
Louis Cohen,
I
yes.
didn't see any "the" in there.
No.
Okay, we're spiritual warriors locked in magical combat with both angelic and demonic entities. Uncover the startling secrets of French Enlightenment, occultism, and a mystical tradition that will forever change your perception of Masonic history.
So you see, even Freemasons are very clear about the fact that they themselves don't really understand at times how deep this occult element goes within the fraternity. And the Louis de Cohen, this is the seal of Martin de Pasquali, was one of those people who mix the elements of the esoteric. And the interesting thing about it, Christy, is that this gentleman actually gave birth to something that influenced also many other orders. We're going to go back onto the article because it actually states that. But the Order of Knight Masons, elect priests of the universe, that is how they are actually known. And this is actually their Wikipedia. So for those who are interested to maybe dig deeper, this is, see, Ordre de Chevalier Maçon et Louis Cohen de l'Univers, or simply e lui, Cohen. Cohen, by the way, is, as we all know, also a surname for the Jewish people. In fact, in Italy, we even have a sort of super coin, which comes from Cohen.
Yeah.
Yes, it's rather popular. But you see, it was a theological organization founded by Martin de Pasquali. It appeared in France in the second half of the 18th century, and it's the first branch of Martinist tradition, otherwise known as Martinezism, not to be confused with Martinism, which was created by his disciple, but Martin de Pasquali. But here, it says, this was to be accomplished through human communication with the angelic hierarchies. So what happens is, yes, they also evoke fallen angels and demons, but simply because they want to clear, a little bit like the magic of Abramelin and the mage. It teaches you to dominate here, for example. It says, a Louis Cohen notebook with the seals of spirits of both good angels and evil demons, because they wanted to clear the evil demons away, exorcise them, evoke them, and then exorcise them, banish them away with the help of the good angels, so they could have a clear transmission. I mean, I know it's pretty far out stuff, guys, but this is the truth. You saw it yourself. I mean, we are talking about a side of Freemasonry which, like I said, is at times ignored even by Freemasons themselves. But here it states it very clearly. So let's go back into the reading of that article, because in that article we actually have a moment in which it actually states the important influence which this treaty for the reintegration. What it means, the reintegration? It means that, okay, they stated that Adam and Eve, of course, were tempted by Satan. Adam and Eve fall from grace and lost their place in the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to go back to the Garden of Eden and reintegrate yourself as a being in front of God, you need to also master those that demonic side. So here, as I'm going to show you in a second, it says very much in the article from the Square magazine, which is a British independent Masonic magazine. After his death in 1774, Pasqualite doctrine was continued by his most devoted followers, Jean-Baptiste Villermoz and Louis-Claude de Saint-Martin. And here, of course, they show once again the seals of the good and bad spirits. The influence of Pasqualite and Louis Cohen on other orders in reality. And here we have a whole bunch of them, and it's actually a partial. So please, let's go with the whole description, Christine.
The rectified Scottish Rite of Chevaliers Benefic... Oh gosh, all this French. I don't speak
Chevalier Bénéficent de la Cité Sainte.
A reformed variant of the Rite of Strict Observance. Count Cagliostro and the Egyptian Rite of Freemasonry.
L'Ordre Superior Inconnu. Superior Inconnu is unknown superiors in French.
Okay, established by Gerard
Encus
Papus and Augustine Chabazeux in 1884. Order Martiniste de Elu Cohen, established 1946. Order
Rocroi. And the Order Rocroi was actually established when I was in Oslo. It was established in Norway. In 2002, on the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Louis de Cohen, is an international with its Grand Lodge in Norway and jurisdiction in Sweden. In fact, I knew a few people who were involved.
Does that mean the Order of the Red Cross?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Figured
it out.
And distinguishes itself from modern contemporary Martinist orders because it kind of brings together Martinism, Martinezism, and the whole Rosicrucian background of it, all in one system. Actually, it is still a divided system, because I went on the website and it's divided in what they call la vue de cœur, which is the way of the heart, which is the first part, then if you are accepted, you go further. I'm going to show, actually, if I found it, it's rather interesting because they have the via, actually, cardiac, the cardiac way, because it's the way of the heart in French. And then you have, let me see if I can actually find their website, because they are a contemporary order. Unfortunately, they are actually infiltrated left, right, and center by people from the OTO that shouldn't even be there. This is their website. And as you can see, they have, this is actually in French, but they have also, of course, in English, so you can switch for the various languages. And when you go into the order, you have the various options, which is Le Vie Cardique, the way of the heart, the mystical and contemplative. Then you have the elected priest, the Louis de Cohen, and then you have the CBCS, which, by the way, it's at the moment also formally part of the Rectified Scottish Rite. But let's not lose each other in all, in all this thing, because I want to explain to people the difference between regular Freemasonry, your average Joe's lodge that you find anywhere and everywhere, and occult Freemasonry, which in itself resides mostly within what is known as irregular or fringe Freemasonry. And we can say that maybe the most known occult Masonic rite is the Memphis Mason, the one where you were initiated. And in fact, in your initiation, you had a lot of magical elements that you will not have in a regular lodge.
Oh, really?
Like, for example, those mirrors, those going through those in that ritual in that weird way.
Yeah.
It was like amplifying certain elements.
The guy I went through the ritual with, he was really scared.
Yeah, he was Russian. And by the way, half of the lodge was French and half was English. And you, for those who don't know and who have not read Christie's book, the initiation was conducted in the heart of the city of London, the business area of the city.
I wrote about it very colorfully in my book.
The church, which is the Church of St. Edmund, which is a saint very dear to me, by the way. It was in a church.
Why is it dear to you?
Because it's buried St. Edmunds is the place where a lot of my family is buried.
Oh.
And my grandfather used to live there, and also it's the only city, in fact, in England with the name of a saint, because saints were abolished with the arrival of the Church of England. So then you had no places with the name of a saint, like Bury St. Edmunds.
Oh.
Bury St. Edmunds, though, has a long history. And by the way, also a history of contactism somehow, because it was near Bury St. Edmunds that these weird green beings were detected a few hundred years ago. It's quite interesting story. Eventually, one day we can tell it. But Martin de Pasquale included fallen angels and demonic entities in this system because, like I said, in his entire cosmic narrative, the treatise on the integration of beings, which is a book which you can find that was actually published through Amorc. Amorc has their own branch also of the Martinist. So the core role of the fallen angels in all this, Pasquale taught that Lucifer and that the multitude of celestial beings that rebel against God to exercise their own creative powers, of course, they were punished by God, who created for them, and I'm of course quoting here the idea of Martin de Pasquale, it's not my idea, but he said that God created the material universe as a punishment, as a physical prison for these fallen entities.
Oh.
So that is, and in his view of things, the humanity's original mission, God created Adam in a glorious spiritual form and placed him in the universe to act as a jailer, keeping Lucifer rebels at bay. So that, I mean, it's a pretty colorful interpretation. No? Adam, in the view of Martinez de Pasquale, was tempted by these fallen spirits that transgressed these divine boundaries and fell into the prison himself because he got tricked by We know the whole, the Apple, Eve, and the whole show. Now, this trapped the humanity in mortal physical bodies, this whole thing. The temptation
There's a
of...
fly in here.
That's a bad sign. Beelzebub.
It's not a big
The Lord,
fly. It's
the
a
Lord
little,
of Flies. The Lord
it's a
of
little
Flies.
tiny one.
No, well, it's pretty much annoying.
It's a gnat.
Okay. Because of this cosmic backdrop, the members of the Louis de Coin view themselves as spiritual warriors. They seem to want to engage in this battle. That's why they evoke demons using also the power of good angels. I know it sounds all very weird and paradoxical and probably not
Dangerous.
very dangerous, of course, very dangerous. During these rituals, the goal, and here we are still in the realm of occult Freemasonry, is not to converse with these fallen angels, but to actively banish them, contain or engage them in a magical combat. By commanding and subduing these malevolent spirits with the help of unfallen angels, the operator proves successfully when he reclaims Adam's, what they feel is Adam's original power, and of course they advance towards what they claim is spiritual reintegration. Now, that is the beginning of occult Freemasonry. And Martinez de Pasquali, maybe it's also somebody that we have encountered during our year of
Occult Freemasonry.
occult, the Illuminati, secrets of the occult that we
Exploring the occult
Illuminati.
Illuminati. I knew we did a show like this.
Well, we did a show regarding specifically Martinism and Martinezism, but now we are instead talking about a much wider subject. And in this wider subject, we have this text, the Great Book of Nature, Il Gran Libro della Natura. It was never published in the English language because it's from a French Masonic rite called the Philalettes. Now, the Philalettes were founded in 1773 by a member of Adam Weishaupt that would become later a member of Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati, a guy who in the Illuminati was known as Bias. His name was Savalet de Lange, and apparently from what later on Vincenzo Soro wrote about it when he made this commentary on this Great Book of Nature, which was published for the first time in Italy in the 1920s, and earlier on, of course, it was published in France. He died in the lodge while he was conducting an experiment. So, I mean, an alchemical experiment. So, I mean, that is what happened to Savalet de Lange. Savalet de Lange and his Rite of the Philalettes, which was highly respected, I mean, even by Benjamin Franklin. So it's not like it was like a secondary kind of lodge. Les Amis Réunis was one of the most powerful lodges in Paris at the time, and Benjamin Franklin was often there. So just to explaining that even the roots of this great experiment we call the United States of America are very much connected to this. So here you see mystical Freemasonry, the system of philosophical mystical Freemasonry in 1773 by Marquis Charles Pierre Paul Savalet de Lange with the Masonic Lodge Les Amis Réunis, of which he was the worship master and founding member. Now, let's not confound. I see in the chat some people are citing the Alchemist of Van Vogel, Eugenius Philalettes. That is not part of the Philalettes, but rather part of the Rosicrucian tradition that inspires then the very birth of the first Grand Lodge in England. However, Savalet de Lange established this whole occult academy. Let's call it an occult academy. Les Amis Réunis was an occult academy, and they became very influential. In fact, they were in contact with Cagliostro, who was also a member of the Illuminati, a high-level member, then another figure that would be very important in our study of occult Freemasonry, Massoneria occulta, as Jean-Marie Ragon used to call it, Mesmer, Franz Anton Mesmer, who we have also dedicated a show to mesmerism, to this energy, this magnetic. So in this actual book about occult Freemasonry, which is later will be also cited by Eliphas Levi, we find an explanation in which it actually distinguishes, it separates ordinary Freemasonry, very much dedicated to the symbolism of it, but this occult Freemasonry compared to regular Freemasonry is definitely has a stronger element, also energetically speaking, because they are aware of being made magicians, of using this fraternity for things that are not simply symbolic, but they go much deeper. So, and also the healing element. Now, you met a lot of Freemasons with me, and one of the most magically inclined Freemason you met with me was the Grand Hierophant of the Memphis Mizraim.
Sorry.
Giancarlo Seri. Giancarlo Seri, who participated with me, as the readers of my confessions know, also in a series of conferences, in one conference at least in Roviana and one in Rome with Princess Kaoru, has always been very open about his contact with non-human intelligence, because, of course, the whole Memphis Mizraim that comes later on merges these elements of the Philaletes, of the Martinist, of Cagliostro. Cagliostro was the guy who gave birth to the Egyptian rite of Freemasonry. But why did the Egyptian rite of Freemasonry, why didn't this rite last? Because there was this occult element that had also an element that could become controversial, meaning children and virgins, young virgins, used to channel these beings, and that it was deemed as something. I mean, today you couldn't bring a child in the center of a lodge, surrounded by bells, and ask him to talk with the angels. I mean, there was.
No.
I mean, it would be like, but at the time, in fact, it shocked a lot that, What's that?
No.
Okay, now, the foundational blueprint for the Philalete's understanding of the angelic came from Martinism, of course, and from the teaching of Martin de Pasquali. The rite adopted more or less the same concepts, aiming to establish contact with the good demons or guardian angels, who will act as guides to help the soul ascend past material limitations. To achieve their integration in the Philaletes, the practitioner had to cultivate a relationship with these invisible spirits. Because we go back to what Pasquali taught, that humanity had fallen from a primordial divine state and was trapped in the material world. A little bit also of a Gnostic concept with the archons who, are the controllers of the system and so on. So the foundational blueprint for the Philaletes came definitely from Martin de Pasquali. And in regards to the way they operated, they definitely rejected black magic. They rejected dark paths, or the typical goetic summoning demons for personal gain or wealth. So in this case, the Philaletes were actually a good group of people. In fact, if you remember, I did a conference with the Philaletes and Giancarlo Seri in Rome. Luca filmed it, and we actually made... we participated. It was always in this hotel in Rome where then Princess Kaoru came, and then after we had also the conference, the international conference at Memphis and Mizraim, where also the Russian came in the same place. But yeah, in that case, the Philaletes were refounded more recently also in Italy, and are also still probably doing the same kind of practice. I mean, Giancarlo Seri is still the Grand Hierophant of this Memphis and Mizraim, and he's the only one who has actually managed to get the Grand Lodge of Russia and other regular Grand Lodges to recognize this right, because there is a tendency for regular Freemasonry to not get involved at all with this kind of
Can I say something about
yes.
him? Just that when I saw him, last time I saw him, it was on my birthday. I forget when it was. I think 2015 or something. And he knew that I was doing like, you know, I was reading who is that guy that was reading?
Israel Regard.
Yeah, he knew that I was reading Israel Regardie and studying that stuff. And he actually like said, don't do it. He said, be really careful and don't do it. So yeah, and he's somebody that does it, so that's weird.
Absolutely. I mean, no, but he does it with a sense of responsibility. I mean,
Well, I wasn't doing anything. I really wasn't doing anything. I was just reading stuff. But like, I don't know, like when I was.
Then also we did a photo study, which was
No, I know. Like
weird. Yeah.
the photo I took of him was really weird, and his eyes, like he had like this blue light around him, and then his eyes were like fluorescent. I don't know. They were like a fluorescent-y color. It was weird. It was otherworldly. Really, it was.
And let's not forget that
something else happened too.
Perugia, we went to visit him, where he has the sovereign sanctuary of the right, and I think you can still go. I'm not sure, but I can check on the YouTube official Memphis and Mizraim site, and you can still find the actual video that I shot inside the temple with him. Which, yeah, I think. Let me see. Maybe
cool.
I went there with Luca. Let's see if it's.
Oh my god!
There's a lot of stuff that, of course.
Is this Luca Lucas?
No. This is here we are. Here we are, and here is the channel. This is the channel, the official channel of the Memphis and Mizraim. Let me show it to our viewers.
Ooh, we're doing Masonic stuff, guys.
Yes, absolutely.
We're spying on Masonic stuff.
This is various things. I mean, there is a bunch of videos, of course, that he has done during the years. But this is, you see, still to this day.
Wow, look at him.
Watch.
Good for him.
He kept it. I mean, guys, you know that Freemasons have always been very critical of the way I've led this exposure work, but some of them haven't. And the fact
he was always nice.
He was always nice.
He
invited us in the temple. This is his temple.
I was there?
No, that time we went with those two weirdos that were then after with Bon Giovanni.
Oh no, those two. Let's not talk about them. That was a scandal.
And then
were they the ones that went to the Chinese restaurant with the Japanese restaurant?
This was me,
but
pretty much young.
Oh my god, you were so hot.
I had a lot of.
Oh, you had hair. That's before I started shaving it off.
And then I bring people inside. This is Giancarlo Seri, the Grand Hierophant, worldwide Grand Hierophant. So he's a Grand Hierophant General. We go through all the temple. And I must say, it's an excellent interview. Unfortunately, it is in Italian, but I'm sure that you can probably find a way to translate it in English these days very easily. You see his eyes.
His eyes are like that. Yeah, look at his eyes, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I told you.
Interestingly enough, when we did the conference in Roviano, he admitted, it says 6 years old, but it is from what it was 2010.
Yeah, 10.
I think 2010.
Yeah.
So somebody says Leo with hair. Okay, so you know, I'm a 1995 of the Memphis and Mizraim, so I mean,
I'm a Master Mason,
and you are a Master Mason of the Memphis and Mizraim, so we have a direct experience in occult Freemasonry, and I tell you, it's very different from regular Freemasonry. It can be pleasant, it can also be at times a little bit. In any case, the higher degrees focus heavily on angelology, on the invisible hierarchy, on bridging the divine and mortal realms, but also on theurgic, on the use of ritual prayers, also for and apart from deep, I mean, and the Philalettes were doing the same as the Memphis and Masonry, this deep contemplation to approach and decode messages from these intermediate intelligences. I talked about an invisible master, of course, but I also talk about the Memphis and Mizraim and Cagliostro's legacy with non-human intelligence in my new book, The Vatican's Top Secret Alien Agenda, because it was an actual member of the P2, Pier Carpi, who did a movie on Cagliostro and a book on Cagliostro, who after writing and publishing this book, before I think he even did the movie, he was approached by a high-level Freemason. And this high-level Freemason invited him to the castle of Saint Leo. That is the place where Cagliostro died. Cagliostro, by the way, for those who don't know, I discuss, of course, his figure in Invisible Master, but I also explain the fact that he started the Egyptian rite inspired by Enoch and Elijah. And I also explain how this Memphis and Mizraim was created later, after the end of the Egyptian rite. The legacy of Cagliostro helped building other two rites of Freemasonry, the Memphis and Mizraim, that eventually would be united by none other than General Giuseppe Garibaldi, who was the great unifier of Italy, who became after Grand Master of Italian Freemasonry, but who was also a Grand Hierophant of the United Rites of Memphis and Mizraim. However, the Memphis and Mizraim, as at one point founded, and this is always within what we call occult Freemasonry, founded what became the basis for the OTO. And that led, of course, then to Aleister Crowley and all that. But going back to, before we go into eventually also into that side of occult Freemasonry, which is also important, there is a specific book which is allegedly written by either Cagliostro or Count de Saint-Germain. And I'm going to show you this book because this book also is about connection with non-human intelligence. It's a book that we don't really still know with absolute certainty who is the author. Alessandro Cagliostro says here, won't you read this, Christine?
From where?
From the Most Holy Trinosophia, the Most Holy Threefold Wisdom.
Is a French esoteric book allegedly authored by Alessandro Cagliostro or the Count of Saint-Germain. Due to the dearth of evidence of authorship, however, there is a significant doubt surrounding the subject. Dated to the late 18th century, the 96-page book is divided into 12 sections representing the 12 zodiacal signs. The veiled content is said to refer to an allegorical initiation detailing many Kabbalistic, alchemical, and Masonic mysteries.
Now, this book is written in a variety of languages. I'm going to show you the original. I have a copy that I'm going to show you in a second. But it is definitely a very particular book that then gets republished thanks to Manly P. Hall, that we all know as an eminent authority on the matter. And it is also written in a variety of languages, like I said, Chaldean, Hebrew, Ionic, Greek, Arabic, Syriac, Curifor, Greek. I mean, you have to be very knowledgeable with a variety of languages to fully understand what this book is all about. However, nowadays it's been translated. At least I know there is a version even on audiobook in French. I'm not sure there is one in English though. But it's possible. I'm going to show you now in a moment this book here in its original copy. Very mysterious, filled with mystery. Here you see it was actually digitalized in 2009 by the Getty Research Institute. And you have here a bunch of things that if you see, you can't really understand. I mean, it's pretty complex, you know? So what is all about? And what is the connection also here with non-human intelligence? Because there is a connection, guys. There is a connection. And the connection is, of course, remember, first of all, Cagliostro's lodges use mediumship and scrying to channel angelic intelligence, particularly the archangels Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, to guide the lodge members. Now, we don't know if it was him or if it was the Count of Saint-Germain, but apparently there had been a secret meeting between the Count de Saint-Germain, Cagliostro, and Claude de Saint-Martin. And this secret meeting will eventually influence the message that will be delivered to the future, that I mean, the prophecies that will be then published of the Pope John the 23rd. Now, this is something that I haven't even discussed. I mean, I have discussed in my latest book the whole involvement of Pierre Carpi with the P2, the links, how Pierre Carpi came into possession of these prophecies written by the Pope, who was himself a Rosicrucian and a Freemason, but for some might have been also a Martinist. And let me show you something that appears in this book, which is the book of Pierre Carpi. Pierre Carpi, I repeat, wrote this book about the prophecies of this Pope, where this Pope is John the 23rd, who eventually in July 1961 will end up being in a direct encounter of the third kind with an alien being. But before that, the information about this whole encounter and everything came to the story of the prophecies, as Pierre Carpi calls it. I'm going to show you the actual book in the Italian, the original book of Pierre Carpi, so that people here can view that at one point there is a document that was handed. This is the actual story about how they met in the castle of San Leo. That was where I was initiated after in the Knights of Malta, and that time I went off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you went there?
Yeah, I went
You
there.
didn't tell me where you went.
Well, I went there, you know. Remember, I said,
That was on Valentine's Day.
yes, I had to go there for the initiation.
I remember.
Which, by the way, then was conducted by people who were involved in Martinism and the Rosicrucian order, aside from the Knights of Malta. Here you see you have reference to Christian Rosenkreuz and all the rest. And then, at the end of all this, there is also the element that connects with Cagliostro, la tavola dei tre maestri, he calls it in the book. And the three masters are, see, here is the document that was handed to this Pierre Carpi, who then will do the book on the prophecies of Pope John the 23rd, and is signed by Louis-Claude de Saint-Martin, Count de Saint-Germain, and Count Cagliostro, Grancofto, Rosicrucian, and Superior Inconnu. So this is the connection, and this is a photo of the future Pope when he was in Istanbul. Of course, here the photos are a little bit not of great quality, but it explains the connection. So here we have a Pope that apparently goes to do this Rosicrucian ritual of occult Freemasonry in a lodge of Freemasonry in Istanbul, and then, as I explain in the book, gets in contact with these beings. These beings tell him, we need, we are arriving, we are contact, the whole thing is about contact, preparing him for contact. He goes back to Rome, will eventually be elected Pope, and then he is the Pope who started the Second Vatican Council.
Yeah.
So it's all connected. And in July 1961, he's the Pope who allegedly, with Monsignor Capovilla, will meet these alien beings for 20 minutes. He was there with Monsignor Capovilla. This is the Pope, and that is Monsignor Capovilla, who in Castel Gandolfo, suddenly this UFO lands in Castel Gandolfo, and then this UFO comes out of it, and the Pope dialogues directly with this being. The testimony of it all comes, though, the secret, the segreto di Johannes, as it calls it here in the book of Pier Carpi. I repeat, it's never been translated in English, it's only available in French and in Italian. But now, thanks to my book, at least I explain the relevance of it, and also what he prophesied, because it's also connected to the Advent, he prophesies what will happen with disclosure. He prophesies what will happen with the pandemic. He prophesies what will happen with this new technology, which is obviously the AI and robotics. So here we are talking about a prophecy, prophecies that are real, not unreal. Here it says, il segreto di Johannes. And then it cites the Apocalypse 10:11. So it is definitely, and in this, it explains, you see, San Leo, it always San Leo. San Leo is this place which my family, of course, I'm called
Aren't you
Leo.
the Prince of San Leo or something?
No, San Leo is the place where Cagliostro died, is this castle. But of course, Cagliostro was a member of my family, Giuseppe Balsamo. So I always heard about the castle of San Leo from when I was a kid. And my name was partly inspired also by the castle of San Leo, as well as being inspired by my grandfather, who was called Leopoldo, as well as Leo Rabenek from the Russian side, and so who was, by the way, somebody who was working with Ouspensky, which worked with Gurdjieff, which led to the to also starting the whole movement that promoted Gurdjieff and Ouspensky here in the United States of America, because that's what the Rabenek family did, that branch of my family when they came here. And so the fact that there is a connection here, occult Freemasonry has been connected with the Vatican. Already there was an attempt by occult Freemasonry to take over the papacy, and that is something which I've discussed in my books, of course, and because it was also part of the lineage that then of the episcopal lineage. You have an episcopal lineage from St. Peter all the way to the Pope, and this the episcopal lineage of Pope Francis went through a figure that was almost becoming Pope. He was a cardinal, important figure, but then after it was stopped by the intervention of I think the Austro-Hungaric Empire, because of the fact that they recognized this incompatibility because he was involved in esoteric Freemasonry. So we have occult Freemasonry definitely present and very much always in a way trying to also connect or even take over the Vatican at times. Cagliostro didn't want to take over the Vatican. Cagliostro simply wanted occult Freemasonry with the Egyptian rite to be recognized by the Vatican. But they, of course, didn't wanted to recognize Egyptian Freemasonry or Cagliostro, and he was arrested and sent to the castle of San Leo, where he died. So, but he actually wanted them to accept it and to put the papal seal on it. But that would have been impossible. I mean, a magical Masonic order blessed by the Pope seems to be, even a Masonic order, to this day, there is Masonic orders that have been secretly blessed by popes. The Swedish Rite, for example, has been secretly blessed by a pope.
Isn't this Swiss? Oh no, that's
the
Swiss Guard.
no, also the rectified Scottish Rite, which is practiced by most of the Swiss guards, because it is very much the main rite practice in Switzerland. So there is a connection there also with Switzerland. In any case, the connection here with occult Freemasonry that we are discussing brings us inevitably to talk about Eliphas Levi. Eliphas Levi, we know, is the guy who made the word occult popular, and Eliphas Levi is the guy who obviously promoted not only what became modern occultism. His real name was Alphonse Louis Costin. He was born in Paris in 1810. He was initially a deacon. He went to the Petit Séminaire de Paris, a prestigious Catholic school. He didn't want to stay a priest. He was probably too attracted by socialism, even if he still said it was Christian socialism. But he went into political journalism. We know, and this is something that I write about in detail in the book dedicated to Jeffrey Epstein, The Rise and Fall of Frankist Monster, Eliphas Levi's mentor was a Sabbatean Frankist. He took the name Eliphas Levi, which is not, he wasn't Jewish, because he was inspired by the Sabbatean Frankist. And in fact, he became also a major inspiration for the very birth of the Theosophical Society and Madame Blavatsky. However, regarding Blavatsky and occult Freemasonry, now Blavatsky didn't want to embrace Freemasonry, but we know that Annie Besant did. So what happened was that Blavatsky was definitely inspired by Cagliostro. Blavatsky and the Theosophists responded to Levi's theory regarding the fact that occult Masonry was a completely different thing from regular Freemasonry. And eventually, Levi believed that all true esoteric systems are branches of one universal primordial science. And we might agree with that. In any case, for Levi, occult Freemasonry was not a unique Masonic invention. Rather, Masonry was just the specific historical vehicle Western initiates used to hide Kabbalah and Gnosticism from the persecution of the Catholic Church. Therefore, even Levi was in search of and was promoting what he regarded was the primordial wisdom, which is then what inspired also Helena Blavatsky. Helena Blavatsky started the Theosophical Society, as we know, right when Eliphas Levi died. And by the way, he died in the home of one of then the co-founders of the Theosophical Society. So it's very much linked, the history of Eliphas Levi, with the birth of the Theosophical Society. But Levi focused mostly on Western esoteric structures, the Kabbalah, the Knights Templars, the Freemasons, while instead Blavatsky looked towards the East and then brought into all those Hindu elements, Tibetan elements, the Mahatmas or masters in Tibet and India, so all that stuff. Now, Levi's belief in a secret magical form of Freemasonry provided a what we can define as a highly influential concept, though, because when Theosophy emerged, it extracted the universal hidden knowledge aspect of Levi's idea, but initially, like I said, disregarded the idea that Freemasonry was its definitive source or container. However, after Madame Blavatsky died, Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater, who became the leaders of the Theosophical Society, resurrected the Levi's concept of occult Freemasonry by forming co-Masonry, which still to this day thrives, is known as Le Droit Humain. Now, Le Droit Humain, which is still very much active, I think there is even a branch here in the United States of America, is mixed. It's a form of co-masonry, meaning it welcomes both men and women. And the Theosophists actively injected in it elements of their Eastern Theosophical doctrines. And of course, they tried to fix that superficiality that Blavatsky, Eliphas Levi criticized over Freemasonry. I mean, Eliphas Levi got, like I explain in my books, got initiated for a period of time, brief period of time, into the Grand Orient of France, but he wasn't happy with it. Eliphas Levi saw that it wasn't, it was too superficial. They were not esoteric. I mean, there was the esoteric symbolism and everything that you do in Freemasonry, of course, is rituals that are, originating from the esoteric, but they were not really digging deep enough, and they were not, they were window masons. What does it mean, window masons? Means masons that have not really the intention of going deep. They are just there for the social element, maybe advancing their careers, or power and all that. Not really. So what happened is that the Levi simply went through his degrees and then left immediately. But that's what inspired, I guess, the Theosophists to do a new form of Freemasonry that could bring back that esoteric element in a much stronger way. So the idea is that because Freemasonry broke away from its original intent, they will bring back the more, putting a stronger emphasis on the philosophy and esoteric symbolism, the mysticism, and all that, rather than just the civic charity and fraternity that permeate Freemasonry to this day, mainstream Freemasonry. I mean, regular Freemasonry also contains profound and esoteric symbolic layers, but its mainstream umbrella spans millions of members, not thousands. It's not an elite. Freemasonry is everywhere in the United States. You go out the door and you find the symbol at the entrance of Palm Springs or at the entrance of any city in the United, together with the Rotary symbol, the Lion symbol. It's almost like a McDonald's. It's very mainstream. So the individual lodges of Freemasonry to this day, even here, prioritize community services, social networking, and what are, let's say, standard moral lessons over instead mysticism and contact instead with non-human intelligence, theurgy, things that instead you have in a rite like the Memphis and Mizraim. Now, Memphis and Mizraim, the way Giancarlo Seri does it, is from the fourth degree onward. So basically after Master Mason as a rite of perfection. But there is a lot of Memphis and Mizraim, because they are irregular, who instead, like the one you went through, initiate from the very first degree in their own tradition. That's why even when I went through your initiation, because I was there guested as a Grand Master of the Sixth Temple of Servants, and I saw what happened in the lodge, I was very curious. Because it was bringing those elements of Cagliostro's teachings, the use of the mirrors in particular, which is very magical,
Was that in that when they had that curtain, and then I went inside, and is that where the mirrors were?
No, the mirrors were when they took off a blindfold immediately, and you had the mirrors in front of with the light and the thing. Maybe you don't remember.
Oh my gosh!
You remember that?
I don't even remember that.
That was.
There's other things I remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. That didn't do anything to me.
What is impressive? Okay, you have first of all, typical of what is continental Freemasonry. She had the chamber of reflection with the skull, the vitriol, so which means visita interior rectifica.
Yeah, but what's it? Can I say?
Yeah.
I went into a room, and he just basically told me to stare at this plastic skull. And think about things. And so I was in there.
That is symbolic of transformation, huh?
So I was in there for about 3 hours, and I was thinking about a lot of stuff, like how I wanted to get out of there and how to use the bathroom.
Oh.
And the other guy, I mean, the guy that I was in there with, he was pretty young. He was about I don't know, he was in his 20s. And he had a really hard time sitting there and staring at the skull. I don't know if his room, because he wasn't in the same room as me, and he just like he really panicked. Like,
So you were not in the same
no, I
chamber.
was alone, and he was alone, but we were next to each other in 2 rooms next to each other. And then like there was, I forget everything that was there, but do you know what the symbols are? There was
Yeah,
like,
there is a cock.
what?
There is this explain you. I'm gonna show you. Yeah,
A chicken?
Yes.
A rooster?
Yeah. Il gallo, vitrio. Let's say riflessione. Well, because I did it very many times in Italy, conducted for other people, so I know riflessione. See if I
think there was a.
yes, this is the typical.
I
Okay,
don't remember that.
well, this is how it should in theory.
I didn't see that.
Okay, this is in theory how it should be, but
I saw a
probably.
rose,
Okay, a rose.
a skull, and a candle.
Okay, this is how it should really be. See, simboli del tempio. You
It didn't
have
look like
okay,
that.
okay. Now you have this symbolizes in the morning when the cock does.
Yeah.
Okay, then you have vedrai la luce. You will see the light or vitriol. Here you have the scaldo there,
Yeah.
and you have some elements that you might have had.
Oh yeah.
They probably didn't have but you see then the word visita interiore inverness occult lapide.
But like he didn't tell me to like chant anything.
No.
He just told me to reflect. And it was really important that I was in my present time. Like I was in the now.
Okay.
Like his whole, like that guy, Glenn, is he my master? Is he the Grandmaster?
Worship master of that lot, but he's very much a
what is-
disciple of Giampiero Giudicelli's Presence School of Presence, which is really connected to those Freemasons also in Montpellier who are mixing elements of Freemasonry also with Gurdjieff's teachings and stuff, and they are pretty
I
hardcore.
wonder if anybody in the chat has ever been doing any of this stuff.
Well, I see there is some people who are actually familiar, and probably they're Masonic, they're Freemason, because
I'm not.
one-
I don't do this stuff anymore.
well, you didn't do it, but you did it. So, Chamber of Reflection moved to Order of the Temple in York Rite, so that means he's a Freemason in the York Rite. Soul Sulphur Mercury Vitriol, so yes, absolutely. Skull symbolizes the transformation, the death in alchemy. It's it's a symbol of death and transformation, a little bit like the crow, and then this is an alchemical transformation that they want you to undertake. So you transform yourself. Okay, the nigredo element, as somebody also is suggesting here in the chat. However, going back to non-human intelligence, occult transmissions, and even UAPs at this point, the concept of occult Freemasonry eventually manifested in what is known as the Accademia Massonica. Now, the Accademia Massonica was the very original vision of Austrian industrialist Karl Kerner, who had this vision around 1895 of creating a high-degree Masonic academy in German-speaking Europe to unite various esoteric traditions and also merging them, because already 1895, you're talking about 20 years after the foundation of Theosophical Society had already pushed that Asian Eastern element. So here we have the Theodor Reus, who of course was from Germany, Freemason, Illuminati, also reawakened the Order of the Illuminati with the Leopold Engel, and they collaborated and used all these Masonic irregular charters, including the Memphis and Mizraim, to officially establish the OTO. And like I explained in this book, there was also a link directly to to the Sabbatean Frankists. And I'm not just making that up. I mean, we can go on the official website of the OTO because we don't like to make things up here. Okay, so Karl Kerner, 33-1996. That is Memphis and Missouri. So already a Memphis and Missouri practitioner. This is a very different OTO from Aleister Crowley because he will enter the OTO. He will be made head for the British, for all the British Isles and stuff. But then in the 1920s, he will take over the OTO in Germany, being elected Grand Master for the world, and that will be the transformation of the OTO, who will embrace his Thelemic BS and all the Book of the Law and all that. But here it says, Christy, please.
Karl Kellner was an Austrian paper chemist and an avid student of Freemasonry, Rosicrucianism, and Eastern mysticism, and traveled extensively in Europe, America, and Asia Minor. During his travels, he claims to have come into contact with 3 adepts, a Sufi, Solomon ben Ifa, and 2 Hindu tantrics, Bhima Sanya Pratapa of Lahore and Sri Mahatma Agama
Paramahansa.
and an organization called the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light.
Now, the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light. Go into this because this is the link with the Sabbatean Frankists.
The Hermetic Brotherhood of Light was a mystical society which claimed descent from the late 18th century Austrian Masonic Rosicrucian body known as the Frates Luces. The Frates Luces was known as the
Asiatic Brethren, when the Asiatic Brethren was the one involving the cousin of Jacob Frank, who would then be killed during the French Revolution, but who created this depository for the teachings of the Sabbatean Frankists within the realm of a new Masonic Illuminati obedience like the Asiatic Brethren. That was in fact derived from the earlier German Order of the Golden Rose Cross, which by the way was inspired by the Jesuits. So there is a link there between Jesuits and Sabbatean Frankists that then ends up inspiring somehow the Ordo Templi Orientis. So, and this is an official statement. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory. So when we have then the connection with Freemasonry, this connection is very much alive to this day. I'm going to show you an image of Luis Elizondo, who did his interview with Jesse Michaels at the Naval Lodge in Washington, D.C. So these guys are pretty open about what they're doing, huh?
Here's the bottom line, guys. It's very simple. Either A, the reality is that UAP are here, or B, this is some form of mass hysteria. And if it is mass hysteria, that means you have admirals, generals, trained pilots with top secret clearances, weapons officers, Air Force, nuclear technicians.
Now, all this with Luis Elizondo, the #1 gatekeeper, and then all this in a Masonic lodge.
And the worst of man, all within seconds of each other.
His father, Lou Sr., was a Cuban exile who originally fought shoulder to shoulder with Castro. After falling out with the Cuban communists and coming to America, he became part of the CIA's Bay of Pigs invasion to
Okay, let's go forward, aside from the story of Elizondo's father and stuff.
decode core truths under
Here
services, and
they go, and this is a Masonic lodge.
Wow.
they're always available to help. I personally, of course, use this. It's pretty astounding. I'm going to keep it high level because I don't want anti-disclosure forces using this against me, but just go out and use it. You'll be amazed. Remove your personal encounters.
What?
Soon we learned that he was one of the last living witnesses.
So this guy who they met, they say by chance, was one of the last living witnesses of the 1952 UFO thing in Washington.
Soon we learned that he was one of the last living witnesses of the famous DC flyover. A slew of UFO sightings in July of 1952 in the Capitol, prompting headlines like this newspaper article, and a call between Truman and then American chief UFO investigator Edward J. Ruppelt. It also sent the CIA into a
So, but all this
From a
in a
US
Masonic lodge.
veteran
So in
Hill,
That's
saying that
right.
he
this-
himself had had an up-close and personal encounter
with a
a jelly.
Freemason telling that he had an up-close encounter. I mean, guys, this is pretty far out. I mean, we're talking about an official lodge, which the video is a long interview with Luis Elizondo, the former ATIP director, very well-known whistleblower or so-called whistleblower. He's obviously a gatekeeper. It was shot in 2 locations: Elizondo's home in Wyoming, which is also bunker. He has built a bunker for himself, and a special naval lodge in Washington, D.C., which I'm going to show you the official website. Now, some people will say this place is for rent, it doesn't prove anything. Well, guys, they don't rent to anybody and everybody. So the fact that they film this kind of thing into this lodge, it's a little bit suspicious, especially because naval lodge. Now we know the connections with the naval intelligence.
Mhm.
Even Jack Parsons, who was connected to who? Ron Hubbard, who
Oh, yeah.
claimed that he was sent to Parsons.
I was seeing him in his sailor suit.
Yeah, no, but apparently, when Hubbard was asked about, he said that naval intelligence sent him to infiltrate that lodge of the OTO.
Wow.
So we're talking about also another interesting element in this story with Jack Parsons.
Welcome to History is
And
Incredible
here we have Jack Parsons.
with science fiction and explosives. He read pulp magazines, worshipped Jules Verne, and began experimenting with gunpowder in his backyard with his childhood friend Ed Foreman. While most kids played stickball, Jack was blowing up tree stumps. After being expelled from military school for detonating a toilet, Parsons never completed college, but he didn't need a degree. His passion, charisma, and self-taught expertise in chemistry would soon open surprising doors. In the early 1930s, Parsons talked his way into Caltech's rocketry circles, despite being technically a dropout. Alongside Ed Foreman and grad student Frank Molina, Parsons began working under the legendary scientist Theodore von Karman.
And this guy, of course, then became in charge of Crowley's OTO Lodge here in California. It's rather incredible, but it's also incredible that these days we have people like Sean Stone, who claim he's a former Freemason, but he actually admits here in this, and we know Sean, he actually interviewed me back in 2014 when I came here for the first time in California. He has always been a good guy. I mean, he helped me out finding the publishing deal with...
We got to see some very interesting parts of Hollywood
uh,
with him. I wouldn't have seen any part of Hollywood if it wasn't for him.
Absolutely.
And I got to eat breakfast in a really like Hollywood, Beverly Hills kind of like setup. And when we walked in, everybody turned around and looked at us. And I felt like a movie star.
Well, but Sean Stone now these days claims he's a former Freemason. In reality, his experience with Freemasonry was in regular Freemasonry and a very brief experience. But he is like,
You're a Mason? I mean, it's not like you ever like establish like I'm going to meetings. No, I wanted to initiate to 3 degrees. I entered, and in between, by the way. Okay, so this is why I know this gets far out, but like in between,
But we're already pretty far out.
the initiation, the 1st degree and the 3rd degree, from in that time period, I would get phone calls from 666 numbers all the time. 666, 6666. We want your soul, like just demonic voices. I want your soul. This kind of nonsense.
So Satan called your cell.
I mean, I don't know if if it was Satan or the CIA, but someone with a 666 number that sounded satanic called my cell and would be like, "We want your soul," and I would just laugh. I would be like, "Okay, I mean, it's not mine to give. My soul belongs to God, so I don't know what you're talking. I can't help you. Basically, I don't know what."
I think I'm jumpier than you, because if I was, in between degrees in the Masons and Satan started calling me, I would drop out.
Well, it's not about dropping out or not. It's about initiating as I said, it's an initiating and understanding the world. And that's why I believe the checkerboard.
Yeah, I did.
You received calls from 666 when you were about to be initiated?
Giorgio Bassi called me. So, yeah.
When was that?
Isn't that?
From the Academy of the Illuminati.
Yeah. So I was.
He was pretty satanic, I guess. Maybe. Not.
Yeah.
Well,
Why is my name on there? I just saw my name.
well, your name is on there because it's part of the things, Patsy.
Oh, you put my name in your setup?
In what?
I don't know. I just saw my name.
Well, of course.
I just saw something with my name on it.
Well, of course, my name.
You wrote me out in your little notes.
I see.
Do you have a moment where I can do my joke?
Yes.
Oh, you need to write me in for my joke.
Okay, so what is your joke?
It's at the end of the show, which is pretty soon right now.
Okay. Tell me what is your joke.
No, I'm waiting.
Okay.
No, I'm not telling you my joke.
Okay. First of all, if you want to help us out, guys, do it by purchasing my books or Christie's books, because not only we have the Confessions of an Illuminati Princess Volume 1 and 2 with their own account of the initiation we talked about today, but we have also, this is very interesting for those who like to eat good food but can't afford, like most of us, affordability is a problem under Trump's presidency. Life is impossible, so transform your kitchen in a 5-star Italian restaurant with Zagami Family Cookbook, authentic Italian cooking.
Real. Like the way that it's designed is the checkerboard on the floor. It's black and white. Not all Satanists are evil. I do believe that there's the path of light and there's a path of dark. They want to assess who you are. And as I say, I mean like a higher realm wants to know what you are. So I believe that people that join, who choose the darker side, I think I've seen it. They basically are willing to do anything. They're willing to drink the blood. They're willing to make the oath.
This is the son of Oliver Stone. My friend Sean Stone, we both know him. He's been also a guest of the Leo Zagami show back in actually during the pandemic. I'm a guest of the show, and they censored the video. And I re-uploaded the video and they censored it again. So I mean, now everything is permitted, and then he goes around with Tucker Carlson, and these people have millions of views.
Essentially to the dark, because they just want power. And if they know that your soul isn't wired that way, you don't end up on the satanic path. So again, like a lot of these were just...
I don't think Sean can ever end up on the satanic path. He's too much of a good guy. He's a bit naive at times. Sweet. A very sweet guy.
He's really nice.
A very nice guy.
He doesn't like a lot of people I met in Hollywood who have big egos, but he wasn't like that.
Even people who don't really even the smallest guy in Hollywood thinks he's a big deal, But thank you so much, guys, for following us today. I hope you understood the occult Freemasonry, regardless of the experience that Sean had, which was very brief, by the way.
Just kind of tests. I felt like they were just kind of tests, just kind of like I got a call from Azazel one time. Azazel's the angel of death, right? Azazel calls, and then like a day or two later, my grandmother passed away. When my grandmother.
Wait, the angel of death called your cell?
Yeah. Well, it's like it now. I mean, it basically identified itself as Azazel. And
what did you say?
No, I knew what Azazel was, so I knew a spirit of death was around. And then, like I said, my grandmother passed, like I think within 1 or 2 days of that call. So I was like, wow, okay.
What did the angel of death say on the phone?
It wasn't. I don't remember. Like again, it wasn't like I remember specifically an announcement of something. It was just more of like in that time period. Again, it was getting so many calls from these things like wanting my soul, and sometimes it was witches cackling. Like
now, the witches is something that you also had to deal with, because I can admit to one thing about Christie's initiation, that there was unfortunately some witches present, because there was some French witches, some.
I got to be in the dark with them. It was lovely, and they were cackling around me. But you were in there too.
Yeah, well, I was there. At least I was in control, and I had also brought with me.
Can I say what you did to me?
Okay. Tell our audience what I did to you.
So I was in, I don't know if this was my first initiation or my second one. I think it was my first one.
Enter apprentice.
Yeah, and I'm in the room and he's in there also. It's like I went into a curtain and it was just dark and I couldn't see anything. I don't know if I was blindfolded. I think I was blindfolded.
Yeah,
that's why.
You were blindfolded.
I couldn't see because I was blindfolded.
Uh-huh.
And then I felt somebody grab my hand, and then I felt somebody grab my boob and twist it. he did a titty twister in the freaking Masonic thing.
Titty twist?
Yes. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I wasn't scared anymore. I knew it was him. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, I remember. No, I remember the
I mean, that was.
I remember Glenn, the worshipper master, who basically was like, Leo, do you want to go and participate to the initiation? Like,
With me?
Of Christy? I said, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I do so many initiation in my own lodge. Just let me at
I
least.
hope you don't do that to your. Oh, yeah, there's no girls. So
No.
I hope you don't do that to the men.
No. So
Is that like a
I don't want to
signature
say
move?
no, absolutely not, absolutely not. You were actually the first woman who was going through initiation. I never in it because I always worked in regular Freemasonry, so only men. But this time I had my own wife there, and I gave it my personal touch. Huh? A bit mean.
And then we were laughing in the thing.
In the lodge.
Yeah, laughing in the thing.
I had bought. I think was that the time I
Yeah,
brought my friends from Norway.
Yeah.
Because I brought my lodge members from Norway to participate to Christ's initiation, I think. I don't know if it was though for the Master Mason.
No, that was for the second one.
Oh, for the second degree.
So-
Fellow craft.
I have to read my own book to find out.
Okay, guys. If you like the show, please put like, please share it. We are very glad that our channel, the main channel, the Leo Zagami Show channel on YouTube is growing. We have also a lot of people who are following us at the moment on Rumble and on X. Thank you so much, guys, for supporting this show in any way, shape, or form. Thank again to our sponsors. Christy, please, who are the sponsors?
Daniel Estes.
Yes.
Dennis Bolanos Enrique, and Nagarzana Minsa, and Hyo Yozumaki.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
and thank you, everybody who bought the book. And thank you, everybody, for being here.
Sounds good.
And thank you for subscribing if you're a new subscriber. And tell your friends because we need more people.
Yes.
Wait!
What's happening?
I need to tell my joke.
Yeah, the joke.
Okay. What do you call a tick on the moon? What? A lunatic. I want to tell stupid jokes.
See you next week.
They would like come join us. Sometimes it was one time, and it's funny. I played this on Alex Jones' show actually back in 2012. But it was a call from again 666, and they were doing Baal worship. They were like calling on Baal, and they were like it sounded like they were doing a ritual. These demonic voices are like Baal, la la. They're doing a ritual.
Here's the bottom line, guys. Put it off them. They accept it at all. I believe there was a program at Right Airfield called Stack 5, STAC 5.
Welcome to History is Incredible, something out of control. His association with the occult.
Yeah, on the phone call. So it was almost like they were trying to like engage my energy for what they were doing. You see that.